Yo, here we go. You can go ahead and start.
Hi and welcome to Monk's Workshop. In this episode I'm going to show you how to make the first blade from Supernatural, also known as the Blade of Cain. This is the blade that Dean borrowed from Magnus in episode 16, series 9. I made this out of some paper clay on top of a wooden frame, painted it with some brown hobby paint, and wrapped it in some imitation leather from a second-hand purse. It wasn't a difficult process, but it took some time, so yeah, let's get going. Now, find 2 reference photos that you like. I used Google to find this, and I used my hand to as a reference to the photos, so I get the measurements right for me. And then just duct tape some paper to the screen and make a template. And there we go. Now just cut that out and we're ready to go. Then take a 15mm piece of wood and cut it out. In this episode I'm going to be working on the first blade from Supernatural. This is what I've done so far. Just cut out the frame of it in wood, just roughly got it into shape. What I'm going to do now is use this paper clay. This is a material that's pretty easy to use. Takes about a day to dry, so you can work on it until hours basically. And when it dries, it cracks up from where your gaps in the clay is. So if you leave random gaps, it's gonna look more like bone. Well, that's the idea anyways. So yeah, let's get started. Now take a piece of paper clay and wrap the blade in it. You can use your fingers to make the rough shape, and then go over it with a metal tool so your fingerprints doesn't stick in the paper clay. You can also go over it with the water if it gets too dry. Have your reference photo with you so you can check the details of the blade, and yeah, just try to make it as accurate as you can. Now, the first blade has dried. What we're gonna do next is spray on some clear coat. Gonna do 2 layers on each side, and then we're gonna apply the paint. So yeah. Now we're gonna spray it inside because outside is like -5 degrees, I think, and that's too cold for this to dry. So set up shop here, cover the floor. This is just an old speaker, so no worries there. This. And then just let that dry. Back to the workshop. Now, you want to see my workshop? This is my workshop. Here we have the lightsaber, of course. Doctor Who sonic screwdrivers. Another lightsaber, which I actually made. It's a bit of a work in progress. This lamp that I've also made. And here you see we have the Nordic dagger. And yeah, that is my workshop. As you may have seen, I actually managed to spray the first blade without attaching the teeth, so I just sanded off the clear lacquer and we're gonna apply the teeth now. So when the blade has dried, after we filled in the gaps, we're gonna do the teeth. Now this is dry, so when you try to place it on, it won't go. So what you're gonna do is use a brush with some water. Just tap it lightly, just to get it wet, so it sticks. There you go. I think that's enough. And place it down. Now, actually, before we do this completely down, we're gonna take the folder. I always like to make a folder of this. All the reference photos and the templates and everything I need. And we are going to take out the reference photo so we know where to put the teeth. How many teeth and how they should look. So let's see. Also important, so yeah, when you wet down the side, you should just put the tooth down and just shape it into a quite square shape. We're not gonna do it super accurate now, because when this dries, this also cracks up a bit, so it will look kind of, I think it will look great. And we will also be painting it darker brown on the bottom, so it stands out more. So yeah, let's just do that for all the teeth. Let me see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on this, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's about it. And the last one, it's kind of a pyramid shape. So we're gonna do 6 squares and 1 pyramid. Then, as you can see here, I can show you. You see this? And the last one, it's more like a fang actually. And then we're gonna do 1 on the middle of the decrease over here, and then 4 on the top. The top tooth is gonna be, well, all the top tooth, really, teeth. There we go. Teeth are gonna be pyramid over. Yeah. You'll get my point. You get my point. So just shape them out like that. I know it kind of looks, it looks like a baby's tooth, but yeah. Now you've finished the first row of teeth. Just go over it with the brush with the water, and then use the brush to make the indents on the side and flatten the tops of the teeth so they look good. When you've finished this, just start with the next row. When you've finished that, just let that dry and we'll Dremel it. Now, we're gonna go over with a, I don't know, stone shit. We're gonna go over with the Dremel to just shape the teeth into what we want. So, first of all, get out your reference photo. There you go. And then take it on low speed and use the tool to make the indents in the teeth and to shape out the bottom of the teeth. Now there we go. Now just spray that too and we're good to go. Now that the clear coat has set on the teeth, it's time to apply some color. On the blade I'm going to use light brown hobby paint, and around the teeth and in the creases I'm going to use a slightly darker hobby paint, brown hobby paint, so we get a little bit more contrast. So yeah, what you're going to do is take a fine brush and just start applying it. Now start applying it to the hilt first, because if the color doesn't work, this part is going to be covered up, so you can test a little bit on this to see how it goes. We're gonna paint on and rub off, and paint on and rub off, and paint off and rub off until it looks nice. So let's do that. Just cover the whole thing in paint and then let it dry for a couple of seconds and then just rub it off. Now you see the first layer, a little bit of the brown paint has stuck into the creases. That is what we're looking for, and a small layer on top of the hilt. So that is working nicely. Now let's just do that all over the blade. Now that you've applied the paint and rubbed it off about 3 times and filled in the creases with some paint, it's time to paint the outline of the teeth. Now for this I'm going to use a slightly darker brown, still hobby paint though, and just apply a little bit around the edge of the teeth. Don't get too much on the actual teeth because they are gonna be a little bit brighter than the rest of the blade. So just run it down on the edge, and there we go. And make sure you got every little crease inside the teeth and everything, and then rub that off too with some paper. Now basically what we're doing here is weathering. Yeah, just do that and just rub that off so it kind of meshes with the rest of the color. And there we go. There we have that, and just do that on all of the teeth. There we go. And also take some of the darker brown and put it into the bigger creases so these stand out. Now there we go. Now for the fabric, there we go. Now for the fabric, I'm gonna use some fabric from an old purse again, which I got at a thrift shop near me. This is some imitation leather, black, which I cut up in pieces, and I think, yeah, this will do nicely. Let's see. First thing we do is check the reference photo. Now, there we go. I have two types of reference photos. I always like to print out two because I can draw some inspiration from both of them and see what fits my blade. So the first thing we're gonna do is basically just measure out how big these strings are gonna be. I think I'm gonna do that piece in one piece. I think that's gonna be this one, and then just cut out ribbons and glue them together with a glue gun for the strings. So yeah, let's do this. Now cut out 5 strings of this material, 35 centimeters long and 1 centimeter wide. Now just apply some hot glue to the hilt. Place the piece of fabric about in the middle and let it dry. Just press it down so the glue gets all over it and let it dry. Now just let that dry for about 2 minutes so the glue has set properly, and then we can wrap it. Yeah. Now the glue has set and it's time to wrap. So keep pressure on the fabric and just wrap it around. Try to get the seam on the straight edge so it doesn't look that bad, and apply some glue. There we go. Just remove the excess glue, and that's basically it. Now for the wrapping on the handguard, just take these ribbons that you cut out and wrap it around. And try to stretch the fabric so it looks tight, and then just use super glue to fasten it to the rest of the blade. And there we go, you can see we got the X, and now take another ribbon and wrap it around the top. Now that you've finished wrapping on the top, do the same on the bottom and use an X-Acto knife to just chip away the excess glue so it doesn't look that bad.
And alone impels us to its prosecution. Nor will this overwhelming tendency to do wrong.
Now that you've wrapped the bottom half too, just take off the excess glue with the X-Acto knife and touch it up with the black magic marker. And there you go. Now that the wrapping is done and the painting is done, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to add the markings. As you can see on this, there is some wavy markings and spots on the top of the blade, and to replicate this, just have your reference photo, and I've actually searched up a picture of the blade so I can zoom in on the photo as well, and take a fine brush. I think I'm gonna do it with this one, yeah, and some dark brown hobby paint. Be very careful about this because this is basically the most visible part of it. So let's see. Actually, before we do this, before we start painting, I think I'm actually going to use a pencil to draw out the lines so I get them exactly where I want them, and I can just paint over that. There we go. That looks pretty good, and then just spot that out with some, just add some spots to that, like so. And there we go. And the same on the other side. Oh, there we go. There we have it. The first blade. Now we're gonna let that dry and let's see how it turned out. There we go. The blade is done. This was a really fun project to work on. Everything went much better than I thought it would be. And I'm really happy about the final product. So if you want to make your own, please send me a picture of it. I think that is really fun to see. And stay tuned for the next episode where I'm gonna make the plinth for it. So it has a place on the shelf. It must have a place on the shelf. So yeah, see you later.